Very, very disappointing to come away with a loss in that game. You know, can't be -2 versus a good football team, and that's really the story of the football game. Tip balls, and we got to play cleaner now. Ultimately, go out there frustrated not to come away with a win. But with that, I'll take any questions.
Kevin, will you,
Frustration, interceptions, and a loss that stings. This one's gonna hurt for a while. Kevin Stefanski was visibly devastated after the Browns' tough loss to the Bengals. His body language said it all: disappointment, frustration, and even a bit of disbelief. But it wasn't just the loss that had him down. It was Joe Flacco's performance. Stefanski himself even admitted he felt bad for Flacco, especially with those interceptions that seemed to pile up one after another.
Your defense has 3 sacks in a row put together, and then you squandered a field goal and a false stuff.
Yeah, it's tough, but it's football. Things are.
Kevin Stefanski spoke candidly after the game, saying it was encouraging to see some of Joe Flacco's good plays. He pointed out that Flacco had flashes of brilliance and executed well in certain situations. However, as the game wore on, things began to spiral. Flacco started to struggle, taking multiple sacks, and the pressure continued to mount. Stefanski acknowledged that in football, tough moments are inevitable, and sometimes players have to face adversity. Unfortunately for Flacco, this game was one of those times where the pressure got to him, and it showed in the final result. And Stefanski was spot on. Flacco's rust was evident from the very first snap. It wasn't just the interceptions that highlighted his struggles, but his overall approach to the game. His throws were rushed, erratic, and lacking the precision you'd expect from a seasoned pro. A key moment came in the first quarter when the Browns were in a crucial position. Flacco had an opportunity to connect with Jerry Jeudy, who was wide open. Instead of placing the ball where Jeudy could make a play, Flacco overthrew it, sending the pass high and wide. The ball slipped right through Jeudy's hands, and you could feel the tension build instantly.
5-man pressure, Flacco on a slant off the hand.
While Stefanski may have been tactful in his comments, it was clear that he wasn't fully at ease with Flacco's performance. The mistakes didn't stop at that first throw. Flacco's press conference after the game showed just how deeply the loss affected him. His body language spoke volumes. He was visibly crushed by his own performance. Flacco admitted he missed key opportunities, acknowledging that he should have thrown the ball more accurately, especially in terms of placement and trajectory. He openly stated that this game would haunt him for some time, and it was clear that he felt responsible for letting down his team. The weight of his mistakes was heavy, and you could tell he was already reflecting on how much this one stung.
It's hard. Listen, when you lose football games, that's what happens. You're going to have plays that you look back on and think about. And, those guys, they played a really strong game for us today. Like I said, I think when you look at this film, you're going to see a lot of guys that did a lot of really good things. We just had some MAs that.
Joe Flacco went on to stress just how difficult it was for him to accept his performance on the field. He acknowledged that while many of his teammates were playing well, he couldn't seem to get it right. Flacco made it clear that, despite the loss, the overall team effort wasn't terrible, but he took full responsibility for his mistakes. He admitted that while the game wasn't a complete disaster for the Browns, this one would sting for a while, especially because he felt like he let down the guys who were putting in the effort.
Football, I'm wishing that, I had the ball a little bit better, and, I'm wishing I just threw it on his chest as opposed to, doing what I did. And I think we're all looking at those plays and probably thinking about them and just like, we're going to go home tonight and try to fall asleep with those things on our, on our thoughts. And
Flacco was right to feel the weight of the situation because, on the field, it was clear he was getting overwhelmed. The mistakes kept stacking up, and it became painfully obvious that he was rattled. Instead of displaying the calm, calculated play we expect from a quarterback, Flacco was rushing everything: his throws, his decisions, and even his movement. The flow of the game was completely lost, and with every misstep, the team's confidence seemed to drain a little more. Then, as if things weren't already bad enough, Flacco, under intense pressure, threw yet another errant pass. This time, it wasn't solely on him. The receiver failed to secure the ball, letting it slip right through his hands. In another disastrous turn, the play ended up as yet another turnover, this time an interception, making a tough situation even worse for the Browns. That turnover? That was the final blow. The Bengals, sensing the opportunity, seized it without hesitation. There was no way they were going to let the Browns back into the game after that mistake. With that interception, the game was effectively over, and Cincinnati wasn't about to give Cleveland any chance to mount a comeback.
Flacco, juggled, intercepted!
In the post-game press conference, Kevin Stefanski addressed the media, and it was clear from his expression that he was deeply frustrated by how things played out. The loss weighed heavily on him. He spoke openly about how things could have been different if the team had focused on the small details. He specifically highlighted the tipped balls that led to crucial turnovers, acknowledging that those errors were avoidable. Stefanski believed that with better discipline in those situations, the game could have been much closer, or even turned out entirely differently.
Very, very disappointing to come away with a loss in that game. Can't be -2 versus a good football team, and that's really the story of the football game. Tip balls, and we got to play cleaner now.
It wasn't just about the turnovers, though. Stefanski's frustration seemed to stem from the fact that there were moments in the game where the Browns had control, where they were in striking distance. But those small, sloppy mistakes piled up, and Flacco's inability to execute in those key moments only made things worse. In conclusion, Flacco's first game of the season has made it painfully clear why he's no longer considered one of the elite quarterbacks in the league. From the rushed throws to the costly turnovers, his performance was a stark reminder that the years have caught up with him. His inability to settle into a rhythm and the consistent mistakes under pressure put the Browns in a tough spot. And at this point, it's hard to ignore the fact that he's simply not the same player he once was. If Flacco's play continues to be as erratic and mistake-prone as it was in this opener, it's only a matter of time before the Browns are forced to consider other options. Both Shedeur and Dillon are waiting in the wings, and with the talent they bring, the writing might be on the wall for Flacco. The Browns can't afford to keep relying on a quarterback who's losing his grip on the game. If this trend continues, it won't be long before one of those younger quarterbacks is given the starting spot. Flacco's future with the Browns is now very much in question, and if things don't change quickly, we could see a shift under center sooner rather than later. What do you guys think? Is it time for the Browns to move on from Flacco, or should they give him more time to shake off the rust? Do you believe his performance in this opener was just a fluke, or is it a sign of things to come? With players like Shedeur and Dillon on the roster, how long should Cleveland wait before making a change? Are you confident Flacco can turn it around, or do you think the starting spot should already be up for grabs? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's hear what you think.